How's our financial plan coming?
Super! Chris, any advice?
With Western and Southern, preparing for your financial future can be easier than you think. Favorite receiver?
Huh?
To get started, visit westernsouthern.com.
We're breaking down who raised their draft stock the most at the quarterback position in the 2019 season and who did the opposite, lowered their draft stock the most, maybe returning to school, all presented to you by our friends over at Western and Southern. So Bruce, QB guru himself, let's kick it right off with the guy who raised his draft stock more than probably any QB we've ever seen raise their draft stock, Joe Burrow from LSU, the number one player on PFF's draft.
You know, and I had to go team colors today, you know, Western and Southern with the blue. You got a little blue too. So we're all about the team here. Well, that's what Joe Burrow has done for his team in LSU. I mean, man, he's just lighting it up this year. I look at last year, though, 20 big-time throws, 20 turnover-worthy plays, to this year, 29 big-time throws, but the most important stat is 9 turnover-worthy plays. That is impressive to me. It just shows he's in command, controls the offense, he understands the game. You know, his footwork, timing, rhythm, accuracy, it's all on par. I mean, the dude's playing very well. And I looked at some of the stats from, you know, the first half of the season to the second half. He's been playing very consistent this whole year.
And that's the thing. Even his worst games, even his lowest graded games, he still puts up elite stats. He still moves the offense at a high level. And the other thing is that for his draft stock, yes, it was low last year, but I don't think that it's a fluke that he's the number one player on the board. I don't think you saw some things on tape last year. He still had 4 games with elite grades last season to make us think that, hey, he showed the flashes. Now it's just game in and game out.
Well, he showed flashes, and, you know, where can he go? What's the expectations coming into this year? And you have to look at coaching because as we're going to talk about that throughout these other quarterbacks, coaching has a ton to do with it. And Joe Burrow this year was surrounded by the right offensive mind. It helped elevate his game, put him in positions to make the necessary plays he can to his strengths. We see it in college. We see it in the NFL. I mean, Lamar Jackson, that Ravens offense. So, I mean, it's really cool to see coaches take what their players had, the gifts they have and their abilities, and surround an offense for them. And that's what they did at LSU. I mean, this is stuff Burrow's comfortable in executing, and this is stuff that will translate very well to the next level.
Yeah, it definitely will. Obviously has Joe Brady coming over from the New Orleans Saints. That is an NFL offense. So we love Burrow, the number one player on our board. Like we said, let's go to another guy who raises draft stock a ton. Really wasn't on our radar as even a prospect much heading into this year. Oklahoma quarterback Jalen Hurts transfers from Alabama, but he's putting together a nice little season there for the Sooners, making his way to a mid-round sort of draft pick in our eyes, which is still a huge bump from where we saw him heading into this year.
Well, and that's a good point. I think he's a mid-round type of guy just because of the success he has had at the college level. He wasn't even on our board. The thing I like the most about Jalen Hurts is I like seeing guys deal with some adversity and some, you know, different obstacles they have to go through to get to where they want to go. Look, Tua took over at Alabama, has done a phenomenal job. Hurts has handled it as the backup in Alabama, supporting his team. Then he moves over to Oklahoma. He's having a terrific year, but he does a lot with his legs too. The thing with Hurts is he sometimes waits to see his receivers come open instead of anticipating. That stuff will all continue to work on, but I look at the mental aspect of what Hurts brings, and he's a guy that he's a football player. And, you know, if he goes to the right system with the right coach, he's going to be great in the locker room, and he's that kind of guy, great work ethic. I think he's a later type pick, but I just love seeing what he's done in his college career and what he's overcome.
Yeah, and he has accuracy. I mean, 70.1 completion percentage on the season with an average depth of target, 11.5 yards down the field. So he's been accurate with the football, been protecting it well with only 12 turnover-worthy plays. So, like we said, we're not super high on him, but I think in terms of where we started our opinion this year to where he is now, he's really raised expectations. I didn't think, you know, the Oklahoma juggernaut, that offense, you know, Lincoln Riley, I didn't think it could just make anyone into a superstar, but Jalen Hurts, he's doing a lot of it himself as well.
He is. I mean, and look, 12 turnover-worthy plays, but only 13 big-time throws, so he's not a guy that's going to just blow you away with his arm talent and make these spectacular plays downfield. But he's done enough this year for Oklahoma to have a good season and put himself in position to, go through the combine and the draft and see where he ends up.
Well, let's go to the other side of the coin now. The guys who's seen their stock plummet with their performance in 2019, and a lot of people were high in Utah State. Jordan Love heading into this season did not go his way whatsoever. Almost has more interceptions than touchdowns at this point.
Right.
17 touchdowns, 16 interceptions, but he lost his coaching staff from last year. Only had one returning starter on that offense. It was about as bad a situation returning for him, and he did not elevate that talent, though.
Yeah, I know. That was tough. I did a couple games last year for Utah State, so I was in the house, in Matt Wells, the head coach of Utah State last year, now at Texas Tech, did a phenomenal job with Love last year, and we thought he would continue to grow because he's a big guy, good enough arm, he looks the part. But this year, like you just pointed out, lost a lot of talent. Now you're dealing with a new offense, a new situation, and he hasn't handled it the best. But the biggest point is those turnover-worthy plays. The interceptions. You cannot do that. You cost your team a lot of football games. And to me, he's just plain indecisive. He's forcing the issue too much. And, it's just not a good look because he's not a good situation for the draft.
Yeah, I do think that he had a chance to play himself, into a top 10 sort of pick, first round type of pick. I still think there's a lot to work with there, but I do think he's the kind of guy who would be best served to come back to school because, like you mentioned, those turnover he plays third most in the country, but he also had the third most big time throws in the country.
Yeah.
And he also, behind a terrible offensive line, only took 20 sacks. Like, he was still those good things that we saw from him in 2018. I think they still exist. He just needs a better situation around him to prove that he can get to that high level.
And that's a good point because we're talking about Burrow and Burrow's 29 big-time throws, and that's the same what Jordan Love has, 29 big-time throws. So he is a guy that's putting the ball downfield and that has the capability and enough arm talent to get that done. But you brought a great point up off the air. I'm not going to steal your thunder here, but what's the move for Love going into next season? I don't think it's the draft. But what would suit him best?
Transfer. I do think transferring to even Texas Tech, there with his coaching staff there, somewhere like Oklahoma, who's not opposed to getting transfers to succeed there. But I do think if he goes to a different program, different offense, has some talent around him, he could push his way. He goes out right now, he's probably a day 2 pick. He goes back next year, he could be in that top 10 mix.
And I agree with you because if he gets connected again with Matt Wells at Texas Tech, he's been in the system, knows the coaching staff. I think that could be a great fit. I mean, that's the call of the day, man. You should drop the mic on that one.
Very well could happen. All right, on to the guy who's really torpedoed his draft stock via injury, via poor performance this year. Stanford quarterback KJ Costello. We saw him as a day 2 guy heading into this year. 64.9 passing grade over the 5 games that he did play this season. It was bad.
Yeah, and I mean, look. A lot of it is injury, right? I mean, he missed a lot of the season due to injury. First game of the year, concussion, comes back, throwing hand thumb. So with that, you're already off to a bad start and you can't get back into a rhythm. Then when you do get back, you're forcing the issue too much. But look, at the end of the day, honestly, this could be the best thing that happens to him, in hindsight, and it's hard to view now. You hear Shaw talk about him and Costello being around the guys and in the locker room and everything he's done and handled this. It's such a tough time. The guy is, and all these college players, they're going for their dreams right now. Yeah. So it's very tough to see injuries happen and whatnot, but, he's handled it the right way. And I just think, though, this could be a blessing in disguise because at the end of the day, it's not always when you get drafted, but it's the situation, the offense you're in. And at this point, if his draft stock continues to drop, then he'll go to a situation that might be the best for him.
Yeah, I do think he's still very much a draftable prospect. And, after that 81.6 grade passing grade we saw from him in 2018.
Right.
But yeah, this season could not have gone much worse for him. Unfortunate given, the circumstances and what we saw from him in 2018. But I don't think he's going anywhere besides day 3 at this point.
No, and I do too. And the thing, just watching this film, even from last year, the thing that caught my eye is too many times he is forcing the issue.
Yeah.
He's putting the ball in dangerous spots. When he did come back this year, I saw a little improvement from that, but we weren't able to see a good body of work because he missed so much time due to injury. And I just think at the end of the day, too, himself, he just has to worry about what he can control. You can't control those injuries and what happened, but you can control what happens going forward. Get healthy, get prepared for the combine, the draft, the meetings, pro days, and do what you can. Look, there's a lot of NFL teams, GMs that are looking for a late round guy or undraftable guy that makes it in this league, and we see it all the time. Look at Devlin Hodges for the Pittsburgh Steelers, undrafted, just an arm during training camp. So guys get an opportunity if you persevere, and just all you want is an opportunity at the end of the day. So Costello, hopefully he gets that.
Well, there you have it. There is our stock up and stock down for the 2019 college football season. Make sure to head to the YouTube channel to check out all our other breakdowns here presented to you by Western and Southern.
You want to get rid of me and get back to more great PFF YouTube content? All you have to do is push that button right there and subscribe. Thanks for watching.